What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to the Get More Fit YouTube channel. My name is Morgan Downey, and here at Get More Fit, we are a health and life coaching business. And today I am joined with the co-founder and fitness trainer, Erica Grooms, once again. And again, we're in Atlanta shooting together. And today we're going to be talking about navigating friendships in your single season, as this is a super important topic and can be very uncomfortable, but also super transformational if you navigate your friendships well. So we're just gonna have a candid conversation about this, just some of the experiences that we've had in our own single season, and then just lessons that we've learned throughout. So without further ado, let's get into it. So for those of you who don't know, we became friends in 6th grade is when we met.
Yeah.
And yes. And since then, it's changed a lot just throughout the seasons. I'll kind of like fast forward to like post college. It's like in college we were good friends. And then it wasn't really until after college where we like really became tight. And go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I remember meeting you in middle school, and wasn't that many like young black girls in the school, and I don't know, just like the vibe, like we came, pretty tight, pretty cool. It was mostly like our friend group, but we didn't branch off for sure until like after college.
And you've been goofy since forever.
My whole life.
So,
my whole life.
Yeah. But yeah, so I would say we both experienced like toxic relationships in the same season, but also in different seasons. And it honestly was kind of that transition out of our situations that kind of drew us closer. But there were definitely times where I felt like, as I was out of my toxic relationship situation and you were still clawing out.
I was on my way
You were on your
out.
way out. I knew he was coming.
But to be honest, it wasn't clear. It was like I had those conversations with myself, and my friends didn't know that I was calling my way out. I looked like, I was staying. So.
But I will tell you all this because I didn't include it in the last video. I swear by this. I prayed that Erica would get out of her toxic relationship because I could see what it was doing to her to a certain extent. And I prayed that she would realize that this guy was not for her, and that not only would she realize it, but it would happen in a way that wasn't like super traumatic. So it wasn't like, oh, he, got caught cheating and this and that, but it was like a very subtle, you know what? I realized this isn't for me.
That's literally what happened.
And I will say, even in terms of friends, like, you want friends that will pray for you. And that wasn't even a point that I was gonna make, but I think that's really important to note. Like, no matter what friends you have in your life, ideally you would want some friends that are gonna pray for you, because they can see certain things in you and in your life that like you might not see.
Yeah.
That they need to go to the Lord on behalf of you and pray and intercede. Okay. Yeah.
And one thing, I don't say too much is, like, I've known you for a long time, but when I was in college, I prayed to God to help bring me closer to Him in some type of form, whether it was like the form of a friendship, just like somebody, like a relationship, like whatever it was. And when we started getting pretty close and closer to a different level that we've been like in middle school, like close to the point like we're watching like sermons together, like we're actually talking about God, I was like, wow. Like, I prayed for that because I remember asking God, like, I felt myself getting further away from Him. And I was like, whatever it is, like, whatever you gotta do, like, help me find a way closer to you. So that's why our friendship growing was always so special to me, because I prayed. I prayed for it.
Yeah. No cap. No cap. And when God answered my prayers and you got out of your situation, I do feel like there was a piece of me that was like, okay, I prayed for this. So now that I got it, also help, like be there for you.
Yeah.
So,
but real quick, I did tell you after that prayer, I was like, if you do have another prayer, please give me a heads up. Because it literally, the way you explained the prayer to me was exactly how the situation played out. And I was like, all right, so there's something going on there. You know, if you decide that again and you have a conversation, just let me know. Just so I have a heads up and we on the same page before you just ending all my relationships and praying. So
I'm not gonna lie, I'll be doing that.
No, I know. You did it to another friend.
Girl,
and that's exactly
I've done it at least, I want to say 4 times.
Yeah, and I asked you, I was like, all right, so we get it. Just let me know.
Boy.
That one you ain't have to let me know. Because everybody knew I need to get out.
Yeah.
We good.
So, okay. So how did you see like friendships change in your single season? Like what did that look like for you and some of the challenges you experienced?
I saw friendships change because one of the main things is like interests were changing. Like, you know, your friends hit you up like, "Ooh, you want to do this? Let's do this, blah, blah, blah." And it was just certain things that they wanted to do, spend their time doing. I'm like, I don't really want to do that. I don't really find it like I don't know, maybe not important. Or I was, you know, learning how to live more intentional because there was a lot of things I was doing that I didn't realize that was affecting me, which was like certain music I was listening to or like certain media I was watching. So when you're like hanging out with people who like want to go to certain environments that fit that mold, or they want to have certain conversations around things that, you know, you're kind of just trying to get your mind away from those topics, I noticed that that's kind of where like relationships were starting to change. Like, I don't feel like I have as much to relate with you as before.
Yeah. I remember we used to, after college, when we were living in Philly, and we used to go to that bar. We used to go to this bar, like, we started going like kind of a lot. I feel like there was a little season where we started going like.
Wait, are you talking about the bar where we worked the door?
Yeah. Yeah, we started going to this bar, and we worked the door one night because one of our friends from high school owned the bar.
And we made the most money first off that night.
We could go on, that's a whole nother story. But we kept going to that bar, and after it was fun for some time. We were still in that state where going to the bar was
fun. I still got the videos.
It was like, pull
we were having a great time.
But
what you doing tonight?
But that was, for me, that was a very clear season where I could tell God was trying to pull me in a different direction. And when we got offered the job.
Oh yeah, we got offered to work there.
To work the door and collect the money, and it was a quote unquote good opportunity because you got paid the same night. You left with X amount of dollars,
and
in
it was
your
just
pocket.
a great time. Everybody was drunk, and you're like, ah.
But I felt such a conviction because I literally listened to a sermon one day, and that same day I got a call offering to work the door. But I had to like, okay, you know what? No. And I remember I called you and we talked about it briefly, but I just knew that would put me in a position where even if I was doing it with you, I don't care who I was doing it with, but like that would put me in a position that I didn't want to be in. Like I didn't want to have a job where I feel like I have to drink in order to not be annoyed, or I gotta sit and listen to this music that I really don't want to listen to all the time. So that was like a moment in our friendship where like I realized, okay, this stuff that we keep doing, it's cool. It has been fun in the season, but where I'm trying to go and I want to, live a little bit more intentionally and purposefully, I don't want to go there anymore.
You know what it was too though? it wasn't just that we didn't want to go. I remember us having a conversation of like, this environment doesn't fit the lifestyle that we started.
Yeah.
Because like, we were going to the gym,
Right.
like we were seriously meal prepping, like measuring out every single gram of food.
No, we hadn't
like,
started that at that point.
No, I think we did, because I remember.
I didn't work at WC Fitness yet.
You sure?
I'm positive, because I turned down that job and then I got the job at WC Fitness.
Oh, well, all I know is whatever was going on, we both agreed that we didn't want to smell like hookah every night.
Yeah.
We didn't want to be up till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And then also, we honestly didn't feel safe. Like, it was like...
It wasn't in the safest
Yeah, it wasn't in the
area.
safest area. And there, it was a disconnect of like, I don't feel like attracted to this environment enough to be here that many times.
Yeah.
Like, consistently.
And that right there, the fact that we were on the same page about that at the same time was a blessing.
Yeah.
Because that could have easily been.
Because it could have been one of the friends. I'm like, come on, Morgan, we can make all this money tonight. Are you kidding me? And both of us were like, no, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that is the tricky part in whether it's a job opportunity or whatever, but like that can be like the tricky part in friendships is like being able to discern, I'm not really interested in this. It doesn't really align with like where I'm trying to go.
Yeah.
And being able to share it with a friend and being okay with, like, if you would have said, oh, I'm trying to do this, and I said no,
and me being comfortable with your decision and not trying to sway you.
Yeah. That would have been like, girl,
calling you, come on, Morgan, I'm about to pick you up. We're going. No.
And I think the danger in that, in your single season, is that if I would have compromised and then did it, like, let's say you wanted to do it, like, I personally believe that when you do stuff like that and you compromise on where you believe God may be pulling you, you now are delaying what he may have for you. Because you're not setting a clear-cut boundary, or just going in the direction that he may be calling you to, and just being okay with, I'm gonna stay, in my space of comfort, comfort, because it might not actually be very comfortable for you, but it's what you're used to, and I feel like that can like really kind of slow down your just like growth overall.
And you're not being true to what you really want.
Yeah.
Because like, you don't really want to be in that atmosphere. Like, you don't really want to be
like, how did you learn to like navigate and discern what friends would be in your life and to what extent, like during your single season?
I don't even know if like you know that. Like, I don't think I was able to pinpoint the end road of like how long a friend would be in my life or not.
No, I'm not saying that. No, I mean, like, how did you kind of discern who you held close and who you kind of love from a distance?
And it's one thing, like a very, very, very clear-cut discernment was when I noticed patterns from my toxic relationship. Like, if I noticed like any type of like connection from that relationship in a friendship, and it wasn't even something I had to think about, it would be like a situation would happen, and then it was like, I've been here before. Like, especially when it came to like maybe a way a friend was talking to me, or I don't know, just like their expression of like love, or like anything that felt like, wow, this reminds me of that person. That was like one discernment that was like very clear of like, oh no, like this person cannot be in your life at all. Like, that's just a very cut, clear discernment. The other discernment was, I would say more of like loving from a distance, was when I was having convictions from all the different things I was listening to, from like sermons to like, different like podcasts, and they would say different topics, and if it was something about a friend, like if they say, hey, like, you know, you should really focus on yourself and, I don't know, learn to like love people better, and just like, you know, simple habits of like just not talking about people, or have meaningful conversations. Like think about when you're talking to a friend, like what do you really talk about? Like do y'all really have a conversation to get to know each other? Or y'all picking up the phone, we gossiping, we laughing about something, or we talking about some boy? So like when I picked up those kind of conversations, like when I realized it with friends, I was kind of like, I don't feel like this is the best for me. So like, it's not enough for me to end the friendship, but
Right.
it's something for me to say like, I might not talk to you as much if every time I talk to you, this is where our conversation is going.
Yeah.
Especially because I just didn't want my mind to even be in that type of mindset.
Yeah.
You know?
So there's two examples that came to my mind, and it's so funny like looking now that we're like on the other side of this.
Yeah.
But during that story I told you before, where like I think you were still in your relationship, but I was single, and I was like doing a lot of like personal development stuff, and I was like changing a lot. And I remember being on FaceTime with you and like a couple other friends, and I like asked a question about I don't know, something about y'all's future. Like I don't know, I wanted to be talking about something
I think you
else.
said, what do y'all look for in a future husband? That might have been the question.
It was something about the future. I don't know if it had anything to do with the guy. I don't know. But I know that we were talking about, it wasn't you, but somebody had mentioned this, some post on the Shade Room.
Yeah.
And it just sparked a conversation about, just some celebrity, or I don't know. It was something regarding somebody else's life that I just didn't care to like chit chat about. And I remember trying to like steer the conversation in a different way, and it didn't really work. But I was like, okay, you know, so right here, right now, this probably not, you know, gonna be the circle where like I go and like talk about this type of stuff. But kind of like to your point,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily mean you cut them off.
It's just you
still
know what, like you know what the friendship is like.
Kind of what
it
type of
stands
topics
for.
like you'll get from
Yeah.
certain friends, like what like level of conversation you'll get from friends, and being okay with that level and just loving them where they
Yeah.
are. Because I think there is an important like time in your single season to like get used to discerning, okay, if I'm talking to this person, this is kind of what I can expect.
Yeah.
And being okay with it. Or to your first point, I'm talking to this person and I don't accept that. Like I don't want this in my life, so let me exit stage left. I remember this was when I had just started dating Khalil, and one of our friends, like every time we would talk, she would always like bring up like guys that she was like sleeping with. And you know, I was celibate, so I'm like, I don't even want to hear about like sex, like nothing sex related. Like I did not want to hear about it, talk about it. And it was a season where we, you know, had some distance in our friendship. I didn't even necessarily just express it. It just kind of happened. But I think it really helped me to like stay locked in and stay focused. And now our relationship has changed up until this point. But I think that can be difficult for people, especially because it can be like hard to be okay with like the change in like how your relationships shift.
Yeah.
And like just being okay, like, you know, when you've been friends with somebody for years and then things change, sometimes it's sad.
It sucks. I mean, honestly, it really does suck. Like it sucks to experience differences with friends that you've had for a long time.
Yeah.
Because sometimes like now you're trying to re-navigate and figure out, okay, like how do we connect? You know, because we connected this way before and now you're this new person. So I'm trying to like find that connection again. But at the end of the day, like if the friendship is real, like you're going to find it. Like there's close friends that I have now that like even in the friendship, like, you know, I feel like that's any relationship. Like you're going to have some subtle disconnection, but like your real friends at the end of the day are going to respect your changes and respect the person you're becoming. And will just accept you for it, even if like that's not who they are. Like they're going to still love you. And like if you're around people who are constantly like trying to change you, or like you're doing certain things, they're like, why don't you do this anymore, and blah blah blah, and they're trying to like pressure you into like a lifestyle that like you don't want to be a part of, or you just like don't want to be in, that's not your friend. You know,
I'm thinking about like clients who they be trying to like lose weight, and then they friend be mad at them when they go to the restaurant and they don't want to, or they looking at them like, oh, you gonna get a salad?
Exactly.
Or like just looking at them sideways.
People hate when you do the things that they struggle on being able to do, because they know like once you lock in and you do those habits and stuff that they wish, or like work on those things like that person they want to become, oh no, they hate that.
Dude, I lied to you not. One time, this is at my dad's house. We invited our friends over, and I was like, you know, this is when we was in the gym real heavy and stuff. And I was, they had cake. And a friend of ours at the time, like, she was like eating the cake, and she was like, hey, you want some cake? You want some cake? I'm like, no, I don't. But like, she was just being mad annoying, like, no way, sure you don't want no cake? I'm like, no. But like, just that, those little things, like, you know what I'm on, and you gonna be a girl.
But I'm laughing because, listen, we have a lot of similar friends. So it's probably potentially same friends and stuff. When I went on a trip with our friends, and this is during that time, I just got the like, you know, breakup, and this is when we were going like super hard on the macros, like just like, oh, I gotta hit my numbers and blah blah blah. And we went out to eat, and I got this like vegan like breakfast meal. Everybody around me, I'm talking about pancakes, waffles, like all this stuff, and I got these like Brussels sprouts, and like, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I was sitting there, I'm like, dang, that's not what I want. But I was so dedicated to my goal, like so dedicated. And friends sitting there, they're like, oh, is it good? And I'm like, it is actually, it's delicious. They're like, well, it doesn't really look like it. And I'm like, you know, they were being a hater, but you know, they let me eat my stuff.
So kind of segueing, so okay, yes, that's a big part of just navigating, you know, how your friendships may change as you're trying to improve, or, you know, pursue goals, how things may shift and how things may get a little uncomfortable.
And the real friendships will prevail. Like, that's just, I think, across the board at the end of the day, like, real friendships go through pain. Real friendships have difficult conversations. Real friendships will prevail. And the people who really aren't your friends, they're going to try to pull you down to continue to be in who you are, and let them go. ASAP.
And that kind of segues into the second point of just like using those relationships to like practice strengthening your boundaries. Because I think women in general, people in general, but women, we're talking to women, struggle with like knowing their boundary and expressing it. And I think that was one thing that really helped me like build confidence in my relationship, even to this day. Like, I remember not feeling confident in being in a relationship with Khalil because I felt like I was concerned, because I was working so hard. At one point, I was concerned that I wouldn't be able to prioritize being in a relationship because I was working so much. But I remember I had this one friend who we used to talk every single week, and we made it a point to like prioritize our relationship because she lived in a different state. And I did it, but doing that helps me build the confidence that like, like, Morgan, you can prioritize a relationship, you're literally doing it. But that was a boundary that I was honestly practicing, of just like separating work life and relationships. And because for a long time, I was actually like kind of fearful of like, dang, like, am I going to be able to do this? Like, but I think even in that, like, that helped me build the confidence to even help me to believe, no, you can be in a relationship. excuse me, and I think it's important to like not take your friendships lightly and really think about how do you just want to be just in general across the board with your relationships, and use your friendships to like practice being that person.
I feel like even now, like I practice in my friendships not being a people pleaser, because I feel like being a people pleaser was one of the issues that got me into the type of relationship I was in also. You know, always like thinking about everybody else and thinking about what they want and thinking about, and I think I was starting to like do that in my friends, like with my friends. Like I was being the friend that was always like willing to like sacrifice or like whatever my friends needed, or like I literally remember. And the sad part about like the people pleasing stuff like goes far back, but like I remember like saying to myself in situations like, as long as everybody else is happy around me, that's all that matters. Like completely ignoring myself. And so like that's just something right now for me. I'm like, I'm literally like trying to unlearn how to be the perfect friend, which is crazy, but it's like, when you think about it, when you're constantly trying to be perfect and, you know, do those things, like think about how that like translates in your relationship. Like that could be like very draining. And then sometimes like you're doing so many things that you're not even authentically like being yourself to the person that you're, you know, dating.
You're trying to accommodate for them.
Yeah.
And that can be dangerous. That can be dangerous. And you can put yourself in a lot of situations that are compromising to you and what you value and what really sits well with you, just out of, I just need to please this person.
I don't know. I feel like nowadays people treat each other like we're just so disposable.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's terrifying, and I don't want to value people to the point where like they don't mean anything, where it's just, I mean, like think about dating culture. Like, you know, you see somebody you like, it's a swipe left, swipe right. You know, it's, you know, they're here or they're not, and you're on to the next thing. And so we practice that same concept in like how we communicate. It's like, ooh, don't like what you said. Okay, bye, we're done.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be 100% honest. Like I unfortunately have done that in relationships, like even friendships that I've had that were like super, super long friendships, and then, you know, they just ended, and, you know, I didn't do much to like rekindle it. And like I don't, like my biggest takeaway from that is like I don't want to have that in my mindset of like that's how I treat people, because I don't want to, you know?
Yeah. So I think out of all of this, like in learning to navigate your relationships in your single season, I think one of the main things to kind of synopsis like what we talked about, and encourage that all of the things you may navigate and all of the boundaries that you may have to set and express, like you have to get to a place where you're okay with being alone. And not lonely, but alone, in that there may be friends that you distance, like there's distance between you all, or there may be friends that you lose, or relationships that you lose, or romantic relationships that you thought were gonna work, whatever the situation is. But being okay with this relationship didn't work out, or this relationship isn't the way I might want it to be right now, and just being okay with that and not compromising on who you're trying to become, the goals that you ideally want for yourself, for the sake of having their relationships. Because like you said, if they're really a friend, they will support you, and they won't tear you down or pull or try and pull you down, especially after you express what you're trying to do. But I think women can get so caught up, we don't want to be alone. Like we don't want to feel like we're being rejected or we're missing out or whatever. So we'll compromise and end up doing things or keeping people in our life just for the sake of having people in our life, when they're not actually helping us become who God is calling us to be, or, you know, build certain characteristics in our personality that like we know we need to work on. And it's just like sometimes you got to be okay with being alone, because at the end of the day, you always have the Lord.